Good afternoon and welcome to everybody here at the Tree Advisory Commission meeting. And here we are at May 4th, 2017 already. Call the meeting to order. We'll start with welcome and introductions. Welcome everybody. And if anybody wants to go down the line here, why don't we recognize who we are quickly?
Okay, let's start.
This is Shane Omersa, Green Corps member in the Urban Forestry Track.
Tom Schmitz, Park and Recreation Director.
Lisa Langer, board member.
Arlen Body, Commissioner.
Scott Sparlin, Vice Chair.
Casey McCoy, Commissioner.
William Swanson, Energy Services.
Kurt Curry, Public Works Superintendent.
Joseph Stedheim, Assistant City Engineer.
Oh, thank you all for that. We'll move on to item 2 on the agenda, and that is to either amend or approve the May 4th meeting agenda. Do we have any amendments or approve any amendments by anyone? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the May 4th agenda.
I'll second that.
I'd call for a motion, actually. You're going to motion?
Yeah.
Okay, we have a second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Item 3 on the agenda is to approve the March 8th minutes. Hopefully you all had a chance to read those minutes, commission members, and if you have no additions or corrections to those, we'll ask for a motion and a second.
I'll motion for that.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to approve the March 8th minutes. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We'll move on to item 4, old business. Under old business, item A, the city tree and reimbursement programs and the budget. Mr. Koehler?
Mr. Vice Chair, Commission members, Assistant Engineer Stadheim filling in for City Engineer Koehler tonight. So far in 2017, we have 9 total reimbursements, totaling $1,000.50. A total cost of those trees was $1,360.09. So we have a balance available for the Disease and Boulevard Tree Program of $3,299.50. That brings our current balance, 2017 budget availability at $9,317.36. Is there any questions or comments about that?
Okay, hearing none, we'll move on then to, thank you for that.
Yep, thank you.
We'll move on to item B under old business, the PUC tree reimbursement program and budget, and Mr. Swanson.
All right, at this time, I haven't prepared an official budget, as we only have 2 applications that have been submitted at this time. Still need to verify those trees before payment goes out. But currently we have $3,000 set aside within the Conservation Improvement Program for shade tree and windbreak planting. So we'll see what the rest of the season brings this year.
Very good. Hearing no other comments or suggestions on item B, we'll move on then to item C under old business, and that is the Buckthorn Removal Volunteer Program update. Ms. Vancura, state your name and address as you come forward there.
Ellen Vancura, 833 Cottonwood Street.
Perfect. Thank you.
Welcome. Well, we have pretty good news this week, for the past 2 months. In March and April, 111 hours were spent removing buckthorn, volunteer hours. So that was for 2 months, real good. That was due to because we were able to get sentenced to served for 2 different Saturdays. So that was, I found the secret of sentence to serve. You get them on a Saturday or Sunday, and you get a lot of workers. Other activities, my number or the volunteer program landed on some type of flyer in Nicolet County, and so a farmer that lives on Swan Lake asked me to go out, and I thought, well, Number 1, PR. Number 2, education. Why say no? So I went out there and it was very nice. He had a fairly good working knowledge, but he just didn't know how to use the herbicide. So I sold him our little kit, and the home show, it was well attended. All the materials, educational materials were revised before the home show, and 25 hours, they were all given out except for 4, and we were busy all the time. So I felt real good about that. Let's see, I've got there's since the Buckthorn's gone out on the bike trail, some of that area used to be actually a dump or something. Plus, there was some sort of encampment. So I took the chief of police, said there's tires and any number of things. So I took the chief of police on tour, checked it out last night. It's all still there. Interesting thing is that there's 2 no trespassing signs now on on the bike trail. So I suspect it's a property owner that became aware that we were removing buckthorn. So because
They didn't want you to remove buckthorn to keep you out?
Yeah, they didn't, I've been told that trespassing signs are not legal, or no trespassing signs. It doesn't say we'll shoot you, but it says trespassers will be prosecuted. But I've been told that unless you have your name and your telephone number, that they're not legal. I don't know if that's state or that's the folklore that goes on up in Cass County. So, and they do tend to have their name and their phone number, or their telephone numbers. But, so that was just last night. I wanted to kind of check it out before I came here. Okay. Let's see. So the chief of police, haven't gotten any feedback there. I studied the private after, because of the blight and the encampment. I studied the map very closely, and there's the heaviest buckthorn on the bike trail doesn't sound like a lot, 7th to 16th, but it's huge. And 1/4 of it is private property. So I had been going to try to talk to the property owner for 3 years, and finally found him in, and it didn't go well. So I think if it's going to be removed, he will allow us to do it, but he has no interest in it. So, but 1/4 is a lot of buckthorn.
That's south? 7
Yes, it's
to
south.
16 south?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Okay.
So I do plan on contacting him once more, I think. I've gotten permission to hire temporary help if I can find anybody to do. The big problem now, and it's growing, I think, we've cleared out so many of the big trees, and now all the secondary growth is coming, and that really, you can just keep chopping it down year after year, but I'm convinced, unless someone can teach me or tell me otherwise, that it's just better to buck up and get down on your knees and lop it off and put the herbicide and be done with it. Because where we do that meticulously, this regrowth is really slow, instead of just going back year after year. And I've never been able to read, how many years it takes to deplete the roots. So
Seed bed.
Huh?
The seed bed.
The seed bed, yeah. Well, they're supposed to last 5 years. In so many places. I mean, there has been a lot of buckthorn taken out of this city. But the seeds are supposed to come up 5 to 7 years, so who knows? But I think, if you get the first clean out of the big stuff and then the second clean out of the little stuff and do it decently, then it should be a walk in the park. As I was doing just some of this stuff by myself, looked up and there was this beautiful bloom of garlic mustard. So garlic mustard is now officially on the bike trail. Yesterday I devoted to garlic mustard because I found a volunteer for garlic mustard over at Adams Park. So I taught her for a couple hours and we bagged and all that kind of stuff. And I was just in the groove, and so it was, it doesn't get dark till 8:30, so I went and got the whole thing, took some beautiful pictures of what it looked like, it was interesting, but it was well confined, got it all done, and so, and then I took a survey, and so far, I don't see any, so. And wild parsnip, I pulled a couple. So we've got to watch for more invasives everywhere we take out the buckthorn. But there is at least 100 jack-in-the-pulpit growing. At least 100. And they were growing among the garlic mustard, too. So we have not poisoned the soil. So I guess that's about it.
Couple things, Ellen. When 2 weekends ago, there was a big group of people up at Herman Heights.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we took out a lot of buckthorn, and we
Yeah,
had
that's wonderful.
quite a few volunteers, and we worked on the hillside.
That is
And
wonderful.
we cut and treated, and Molly Trannell gave us some equipment and some of the herbicide to
Saw
use.
that. That was really nice.
So there was quite a bit.
That was the science lady.
Yes, that was the Science Day, Earth Day, and that was the project, and that, that was good. We taught a lot of people, too, to identify buckthorn.
Yeah, yes, it's all about education.
And then the other thing, there was an article in the, I don't know if it was in the St. Paul or the Minneapolis paper this week, where they're using goats.
Goats again.
They've got quite a bit of doing goats up there, and people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Watch the goats.
Expensive. Oh, there was one other activity that I didn't write down. Last week, I taught, first issue is that the people on Summit have done a good job, but the biggest infestation of buckthorn is District 88 property.
Oh, yes.
Right across the street from the middle school or junior high. And I got asked to teach a middle school science class, two different units, 2 different classes. So I did that. I also contacted the superintendent, who referred me to the grounds person, and they never showed up and never called me back. But anyway, my point was to the superintendent that, it isn't just, let the kids run around out there, and it was freezing cold and none of them were warm enough. It's too bad, they were told when Joe was 35. But they learned a little bit, and but I said also then, you have to teach them responsibility and remove it. So I've offered now to show the grounds people at District 88 how to remove it. And there's also a lot of invasive honeysuckle and the grapevine, so I'm hoping that someone will contact me. Okay? So, 7th graders at middle school know about buckthorn identification.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other discussion on item C at all? One thing that I'd like to bring up myself is the goats. And I started talking about that about 2-3 years ago. It's been in the outdoor news on a regular basis about how effective they are, and not only with the buckthorn, but with garlic mustard, anything else like that. They simply take down everything, and they're good for maintenance. They certainly can't go in and take down big buckthorn bushes, but after that hard job is done, I really think the city needs to take a hard look at possibly having their own herd of goats, at least for a while. And, the goats are cheap. You don't have to teach them anything. So that's something I think we should look into in the future. And I see that Mr. Mayor is with us here, and we had a suggestion from last meeting about bringing up the hard work of Ms. Vancura and her volunteers and recognize them at a meeting of the city council, if for no other reason, for the hard work, but as well to get the message out there. You know, a lot of people watch the city council meetings. I don't know how many people watch the Tree Advisory Commission, but, you know, they do watch the meetings for the city council, and that would be a golden opportunity to raise some awareness and at the same time do that. So, Mr. Mayor, I mean, if you could get that wheel started, looking into that and give us some options on what you think we could put together and do, and I think we have enough money in the budget to cover some type of an award and recognition. As I think it's due for all the hard work that's been going on. So, and I'm seeing an affirmative head nodding out there. So, thank you. Let's move on. Keep the meeting going here. Item D, we do not have the gentleman with us, is garlic mustard, but we did have an opportunity to talk about that shortly. Is anyone else on the commission or other attendees here have any thoughts or ideas on the garlic mustard infestation?
The only thing is at the home show, he was there. I worked with him at the home show. He had a potted plant there. There was a lot of interest in it. People asked a lot of questions. And so I think the word's getting out.
Great. That's what we need. That public awareness is very important. And I see we are being approached to the podium by our illustrious mayor, Mr. Bob Boisman. We won't ask you to state your name and address,
Okay,
but we're assured that you're a citizen here.
In your comment about having Ellen come and to the city council and get more people watching and learning, the gentleman was here for the garlic mustard and was on the agenda. So that will be step number one, to pick a date, pick a meeting date, and get on the agenda.
Very good. Thank you. Well, if there's no other discussion on item D, we'll move on to item E. Under old business, that's the Minnesota Green Corps. I see Mr. Omersa here, but I do not see Mr. Schnolberg, but Park and Rec Director, Mr. Schmitz is with us. And if you could, gentlemen, go through those 6 items and just take it from there.
Okay, thank you. Starting with item E1, tree inventory and self-inventory. I'd like to report that as of right now, we have about half of the planned parks completed. And so there's most of the larger parks like German left to do. And so I will have some volunteers shortly. We'll be able to help with that. And so there will be volunteer training on May 12th and 13th at the community center. And so on the 12th, the time is from 4:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., even though I don't think it's going to run that long. And on the 13th, it's 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And also, just trying to give enough time for all of the material and also some time for practicing and questions. And I would like to say that this is what I've done up to this point had been mostly freestanding trees, and any kind of denser areas would be up for discussion on how to tackle that later on. I would like to say thanks to Clay Schultz and the Journal for having 2 articles related to the inventory. That's really helped with getting volunteers on board. So thank you to them. And also about the self-inventory, that has been completed and printed copies have been made, and they will be brought to City Hall soon, and they should be out in the utility mailing beginning the middle of this month. And I'd like to emphasize with this that participation in the self-inventory is completely voluntary. And so if people would like to complete it and send it in, great, fantastic, thank you. And if not, then just put it in your recycling bin. And also results from the self-inventory will be made public on the website, city website, and elsewhere. Moving on to E2, the gravel bed and tree planting. We could bring up the pictures. Well, maybe I had pictures located in the packet. I think it is the 5th item down. And the gravel bed had been finished, I'm glad to report. And the tree, all of our trees, 72 trees, are now in this location, with 33 going into the gravel bed this year. I'd like to say thanks to the maintenance staff for their contributions and input, especially Doug Tenike for pretty much being the lead on this and really helping me with getting the whole thing together. And so it's located behind the Park and Rec maintenance shop on Brunt Street. And I have 4 pictures here. If you could, I have one showing the gravel bed, the first one. Another one from the backside showing the entryway. And one close-up on some of the barrel trees being put into the gravel bed. So they're just barrel trees. You don't have no soil goes in, and you just cover them in about 4 inches of this of gravel, and then over the summer the root system will develop, and they'll be much better off for planting in the fall. And moving on to item E3, Urban Forestry Program Assessment. As part of my final report before my service year is out, I will have this report with recommendations on how to go from here and to improve the urban forestry program. Part of this will be a questionnaire that I'm developing for city departments to learn more about what's being done currently regarding trees. And so that's being finalized now, and I will be contacting department heads to give more information on that before sending them. So it'll kind of serve as that benchmark, the standards for future recommendations. And moving on to item E4.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Shane. Vice Chair Sparlin and commissioners and advisors, we've got some great news for us. As you know, we applied to become a host site in the next cycle, the 2017-2018 Green Corps AmeriCorps cycle under the urban forestry track. And you can see in your packet on page 8 of 56 pages is the beginning of this recommended action item. And so I am recommending to you that you forward on as a recommendation of the City Council for them to authorize the city manager to sign a 2017-2018 Green Corps host site agreement with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency to host a Green Corps participant member next year in urban forestry. You can see in the overview all of this information with the fact that our first member, Shane Omersa, has been here since September of 2016, and that cycle ends in mid-August of this year, 2017. He's done a lot of great work for us, and we're very thankful that the PCA has awarded us another host site for the next cycle. His workstation is at the Recreation Center in the Administrative Office of the Park and Recreation Department. And he's been assisted by many other departments and outside experts to assist us with all the various elements of his work plan. And so continuing on, as you recall, there's really no cost or minimal cost to the city. His wages and benefits and workman's compensation is all covered through AmeriCorps and Green Corps. We just provide the workspace, vehicle, and some support. You can see the many pages here in the packet. There's the application guide from Green Corps, which is, 25 pages or so. And then as we get towards the back of that, you can see the work plan, the proposed work plan for the next cycle. See if I can get to what page that is in the packet. I think here we are on page 47 of 56. You see in the packet the beginning of the, that was the application, the host site application, which includes kind of a proposed work plan for next year. Somewhat similar, what we're anticipating would be the 2017-2018 member to pick up where Mr. Omersa has left off. Certainly Shane's going to accomplish and complete some tasks. Other elements are just kind of beginning. And so the member next year would pick up where he has left off and continue to assist the city in moving our tree programs forward. There will be if the city council authorizes this through your recommendation, there will be a recruitment period of about only a month through the PCA, where they'll be looking for a member to apply for this position in New Ulm next year. And I have become aware that present members are eligible to be a member of the program in the following year. And Shane has expressed an interest, and so I have encouraged him to apply for that position if you and the city council authorize us entering into agreement to be a host site.
Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to recommend to the city council that a contract be entered into with the Pollution Control Agency to see that we get our Green Corps person put in place for next year. If I hear from the commissioners on that, we can make a motion. Is there a motion out there?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to send a recommendation to the New Ulm City Council to enter into a contractual agreement with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency on establishing a Green Corps person in the city of New Ulm as per the documents that are in front of us. Is there any further discussion? Without further discussion, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So there you have it. Very good.
Thank you.
Number 5, who's going to take Arbor Day?
I will take that one,
Okay.
Chair. So Arbor Day, this Arbor Day celebration took place on April 28th at German Park. And the tree that was planted was the ginkgo. We got that tree from River Creek Nursery, so thank you to them. The street department dug the hole for us, thank you. And Greg Simmons, intern for Park and Rec for the last few months, he was really in charge of organizing this thing. And so thank you to him. Also thanks to Mayor Busman, and Youth Services Librarian Jan Keeney for their participation. I think that's...
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Shane. Item 6, any other thing that any of you would like to bring up on that? I just would have one comment quickly. Shane, you've done a very good job, and I would also, I can't speak for the other commissioners, but I would hope that you would reapply, and we'd love to see you back, because you have a history here of and knowledge, and it would be great if that would come to fruition, in my viewpoint. And I'm seeing the other commissioners nod, so. All right, we'll move on then to item F. Mr. Swanson, utility bill stuffer mailing flyers.
Okay. Well, our next scheduled flyer would be for August, and we would need to have those submitted by August 6th to our billing department. So I guess the next question would be, what are our potential themes that we would like to cover for utility billing stuffer? And I'll maybe open that up to discussion, and any other points, maybe if there's any discussion for the previous flyer as well.
Mr. Swanson, can you give us a drop-dead timeline for when you would need that information for the flyer?
I guess I don't know how long that would take to prepare. I would think it would be, I guess, be nice to have an idea of that at least by the next meeting. Maybe have some of the themes finalized by the end of our next meeting. And I believe that would be our July meeting that would be coming up. So if we could have the themes developed by that point, I think we would be able to, get the paperwork developed by that August 6th cutoff date.
Okay. I would open the floor to, to some ideas, and if we can't come up with anything at this meeting, I think that sounds like we still could entertain some ideas at the next meeting as well. But other commissioners, do you have any strong thoughts on what we could put in for the utility bill stuffer? It's I think we're just a little unprepared as far as that goes. But I would also open the floor to the rest of you, if you other attendees today, if you have any ideas.
Vice Chair and Commissioners, again, this needs to be finalized no later than our next meeting. And so if you can throw out some ideas or suggestions for us this meeting, we can prepare and bring something to you in writing at the July meeting. So this comes out in August, so this is an autumn theme. What might be some appropriate tree-related items to discuss with an autumn theme, considering two sides of a piece of paper. I would recommend just black ink, but you've got plenty of, square inches, so to speak, on two sides of it, 8.5 by 11. So there's an opportunity for a number of different themes or topics.
I remember, maybe it was last year, it was part of a packet that was sent out to us, and it was an material on the types of trees to plant in boulevards and near sidewalks. And I think I have that information somewhere, and I know it's not fall related, but I think there are a lot of people who don't plant or want boulevard trees because they're worried about roots and things like that. It might be good to educate people about different trees or ways to plant, so they would be encouraged to plant more boulevard trees. I mean, I could share that information. I'm not saying it has to be that, but it's an idea.
Commissioners, let me throw something out here. Why don't we all have email, and we could do some research over the course of the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and come up with a number of ideas, get a consensus on what we'd like to see. So we're kind of on the spot right now. It's tough to brainstorm when you're not really prepared to brainstorm. So this would give everyone a chance to go back and do a little bit of research, and then, email amongst ourselves and come up with some recommendations, and then we'll prioritize those and come up with one thing that we would get to the Park and Rec office. Does that sound like something we would
Yeah,
entertain?
Yep.
Do we?
I think it's a good idea.
That sounds good. Mr. Schmitz?
Thank you, Vice Chair Sparlin and Commissioners. Another timely topic for August would be protecting small diameter trees from the whitetail buck rut. I've seen an enormous number of trunk damaged trees which will die.
Sure.
Need to be removed.
Sure.
And we protect a lot of those type trees annually by putting the tile plastic wrap on them. But I've also seen many trees that didn't get protected last August and have been stripped by the whitetail bucks.
How's the city hunt going as far as deer
That's an
hunting?
annual ongoing archery hunt that has been authorized again for 2017.
Are the numbers, are we taking enough deer from the herd?
Well, that's something that, the DNR assists us with evaluating, but they seem to be quite happy. Generally, it's about 100 applicants apply. They have to shoot, and the best 50 proficient shooters are approximately awarded a permit, and they harvest, 20 to 30 deer per season during the bow season in the autumn.
Sure.
So it's a very successful program. But as I mentioned, there's a lot of small diameter trunk trees that have been
Sure.
killed.
Well, that's an item we can put on our lists as we go through, and we'll certainly include that. Thank you for your comments regarding that particular situation. So then we will be in contact, and as we move forward, we'll need to get a hold of the chair and get him in the loop as well on this, and he may have some additional ideas too, and he has access to different things. So, good, that's a good discussion. Is there any other further discussion on that? If not, we will move on to item G, the Big Tree Contest, 2017, and the Big Tree Contest is a locust tree this year. A very, very nice tree, very hardwood, should be good. Any discussion on that? Any from the commissioners at all?
Vice Chair Sparlin and Commissioners, it's page 56 of your packet, and that's the actual form that's been published to have an entry into it. And the deadline is June 12th, which is prior to our next meeting. So there is a deadline that's just, a little over a month away. This information can be found on the city website and also in paper form at a lot of city buildings, the Rec Center, Civic Center, Community Center, City Hall. My understanding is we've only received 4 applicant entries to date. So that's the little update I would have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schmitz. I'm noticing the flyer, and it's excellent. I like the color on it. It turned out good, and very descriptive picture. So excellent. We just need to get those locust owners out there to say something, or even people that are by locust trees.
Vice Chairman, do we know who's going to be measuring the trees this year? Did we decide that at another meeting?
Yes, I was going to help Wayne with that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, hearing no other discussion on the Big Tree Contest, we'll move on to item H. Item H under Old Business. That is the Home Show 2017 review. Who can give us a report on that?
I guess I'll speak on it. I know there were others that volunteered in to man the booth. Ellen was there. You were there. I know Wayne was there. I think it was very successful. I know when I was working my shifts, Ellen and I spoke with more people than we could almost handle as far as Buckthorn, the garlic mustard, and then there were questions too on the tree programs. So I think it went well.
Excellent. Thank you.
And Shane was there, that's right. Yes, yes.
And I guess I'd also like to comment. I took a few minutes off of attending the New Ulm Public Utilities booth to visit the Tree Commission booth. And I thought that the kind of hands-on display and I guess physical displays there were very well put together. So excellent job.
Very good. All right. Yeah, hearing no further discussion on the home show, we'll move on to item I, forester position. There's been no movement on this. Somewhat disappointing as far as this commissioner goes, but that's for a later date. We'll discuss that at some time in the future. It continues to be on the agenda, and it's in our minds and our thoughts. And we'll move on to item J, the bur oak blight. Does anyone have some discussion, thought on that at all? Are we experiencing, Shane, have you been in contact with anyone who's talking about bur oak blight?
At this point, no.
Okay.
The parks I've covered so far have been sparse for oaks.
Okay.
But I might have more to
Okay.
say on that in the future.
Very good.
I took a few calls on that last fall at work. Not a huge number of them, and just basically the information I was able to get from our forest health specialist in St. Paul was that it's linked to the amount of moisture that we had a lot last year. The amount of moisture we had caused it to show up more often than not, maybe, or more often than it had been before. And his recommendation was essentially to kind of take a wait-and-see approach to it. At a number of people, I think they were worried about whether they would need to remove their trees, and his recommendation was if it gets fairly severe, then you might consider that, but the majority of the recommendations were to wait and see and see how they recover.
Excellent. Thank you. Hearing no further discussion on item J, we'll move on to item K, Center Street Hill-tree planting, tree and shrub plantings. Still in planning phase, and there's nothing to report on that, but it's also an item that we're keenly interested in, and we'll keep an eye on that and certainly monitor that as it moves forward. We'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, new business. Is there any new business out there at this time? Hearing no new business. We do have. Okay.
One thing, and I'm not sure if it's a new business and maybe a point of discussion. I had a citizen of New Ulm approach me about the tree planting program, and so I sent her the information to find where she could find information on the trees that were approved. And she got back to me later and pointed out that one of our trees on our approved or recommended list is actually an invasive. It's been listed as an invasive by the DNR. So I dug into that a little bit further. It's also listed as a specially regulated species, I think is the term they use by the Department of Agriculture. Amur maple is the tree species on there. And so I guess as an item of discussion, is it something that we want to continue as a recommended tree species, and maybe Tom and Shane have some additional comments on thoughts on keeping that on the list, or just open it for discussion, I guess.
Commissioners, thoughts on this? We certainly need to make sure that we're telling people to plant the right kind of trees. My just to get the discussion rolling quickly, and thank you for bringing that up, would be to strike it from the recommended tree list. Just get it done. And if it takes a motion by this commission to do that and send it forward, we can make the appropriate changes right now. I don't see any reason to wait. If it's listed by the DNR, it's obviously a situation where we don't want to have that tree planted in the boulevards. I see we have Ms. Vancura at the podium again. Yes.
You know, just talked our homeowner association into conducting a tree survey, which Tony did for us. And because I've known for a long time that amber maple is on that special, it's just one notch down from the invasive list. And it actually, what it actually says is that it should not be planted within 100 yards of natural areas. Well, we're in New Ulm, it's like the birds and the buckthorn, whatever. It's very invasive because we have our whole berm is planted with amber maple. So in the clinic parking lot, and yeah, I'm surprised. And I did print that out, but I'm surprised it's on there. It should go off. It definitely should go off. It has thousands and thousands of seeds, and they
I've seen it.
propagate.
Definitely seen that myself.
Yeah.
Thank you for those comments. Commissioners, let's put it in the form of a motion to see that the process is started to make the change to strike amber maple from the recommended tree planting list in the city of New Ulm. And that would be in the form of a motion. Do I hear a motion?
I will make that motion to strike the amber maple from the preferred list of trees.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Without further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, and thank you for that report. That's excellent. Good catching that. Is there anything else under item 5 for new business?
Could I make one more comment?
Yeah, certainly.
Please. I was curious. I'm really glad. I looked at it, but I didn't see amber maple on it. Where do we get the list from? It looked like a good list because it has, specific. It looked like a good list, and it gave specific like crab apples, what kind, and
Yeah.
And then I went along one of the new streets that's just been paved and read all the tree, and they were all on that list. I'm just wondering where we get that from.
You can get it on the city's website.
Yeah, but where does the city?
Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners.
That's what my
that list is maintained, for lack of a better word, in the engineering office. So
Okay.
we put that list together.
Oh, okay.
Our gentleman up in our office who takes care of our tree stuff up in the office takes
Okay.
care of that list. So we will make that change to that tree
Oh,
list.
fantastic. I'm glad you brought that up. That saves any further exploration of it, and we can get that done and get it striked from the
We can make that change,
list.
and we'll work on getting the new one up on the city website.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Vancura.
May I ask one more question?
Oh, certainly.
What is the source of is it from the U.S. Forestry Service or because they must be for just like southern Minnesota, the climate and some.
Yeah, I guess I don't know where the list originated
I
from.
think we
but
should know that.
Yeah, and that's something that I can ask some questions
The
on
source
that.
and if whoever the source is, if you get updates for our area, you wouldn't recommend the same crabapple or linden for probably International Falls like here.
Correct, yeah. I would
Yeah, I think we
assume
should
some-
learn more about that.
Yeah, I would assume some of it comes from probably the University of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Along with the DNR maybe might have been
Yeah,
involved. So
let's-
I will do some checking on that. We can report back at the next meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Any other business under item 5? If not, the next meeting is July 6, 2017, 4 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. I would, at this time, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to
We have a
adjourn.
motion, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.